This is Finn Balor, and you are listening to another wrestling podcast.
It's time for another wrestling podcast.
The measuring stick just changed around here, buddy. You're looking at
the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be.
They think they got the answers. I change the question.
The cream of the crop. Nobody does it better. These are the best in the world, brother. These are the best at what they do.
When we talk about the legends of the sport, there's only two in my book.
Another wrestling podcast.
Another wrestling podcast. Now can you dig that, sucker?
All right. Welcome to another wrestling podcast. I'm Steve Credo.
And I'm Jonathan Benjamin.
And this is episode 114. Wow.
That is quite the feat.
It is. 114 episodes of another wrestling podcast. Everybody out there, stay tuned. We're going to have one hell of a show, Jonathan. Why is that?
Well, we have, in the past, prided ourselves on getting some of the greatest guests of all time to come on our show and talk to us. We've had everybody from Zeus to Finn Balor. We've had on people like the Miracle Mike Bennett. But today is an amazing show. We have none other than Adam Rose, now going by Aldo Rose, but former Adam Rose is joining us in the studio today.
It's going to be a party all the time, on the time, right now? No, that's not right. It's party time all the time right here on another wrestling podcast. So stay tuned because Aldo, is in the house, and we're going to find out a little bit more about what he's been up to. But before we get to any of that, make sure you head on over to anotherwrestlingpodcast.com for all of our links to where you can like us, follow us, subscribe to us, and all that fun stuff. But Jonathan, the week that was in pro wrestling, a lot of big things going on. The fans want to hear what we have on our mind about what's happening. I guess the first elephant in the room, if you will, is Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose a little bit talking about Roman Reigns' suspension. So I guess they kind of had to bring it up that he's not going to be here, but they didn't really state to the fact exactly what it was that he was out for yet. But they made it public. He's out. They showed all his Twitter response. They even went that far. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, was it obvious they kind of had to do it because he's not going to be seen for at least 30 days, right?
Yeah, I think that was their way of trying to kind of cement Seth Rollins as a, kind of risky type of wrestler where he can throw out these promos. And obviously Dean Ambrose went about it a different route. He was like, everybody makes mistakes. I think it's a shame that it happened. I'm not standing up for Roman Reigns because he did make a mistake, and that's his own, burden that he has to carry now. But I thought it was a little strange the way that they did it. I think it's fine. Like, I don't have a problem with it. I just think that it could have been done differently. If it was up to me, I probably would have just yanked Roman out and said that, he's been suspended and that's that. But now it's just going to be Seth versus Dean at Battleground. But they didn't pull any punches, that's for sure. So I don't know where that came down from. If it was the very top or if the writers felt that was a good idea. I
just didn't think they'd go right into it to basically, hey, he's out and he's suspended for the wellness violation or whatnot. So they pretty much brought it right into the spotlight. So I was just surprised that they were pretty straight up about it. Because, I mean, they said it online. They announced it on WWE.com. So I didn't think they would have to announce it on TV like that. I would have thought they would have maybe, wrote him off saying, I don't know, something different, but I guess, hey, they just made it more real, and writing it into the storyline. So it's going to be different, Jonathan, because I'll tell you what now, he has been the golden boy, the chosen one, the whatever, to be that new John Cena 2.0. But now, is he going to be wearing a big scarlet letter on his chest from now on? Because he's out for a wellness violation. It's not like he's injured or anything. He did something, Jonathan. We don't know what. Was it Was it weed? Was it drugs? Was it booze? Was it I don't know. What was it that made him go out? Well, I guess we're not going to find out right away, but can he recover from this and be that that number one guy again, or is he going to have to really do a lot of damage control?
Well, I think that this is also WWE, maybe without knowing, just set a very strange precedent for if this happens again. Say Roman comes back, but let's say that Dean Ambrose gets caught for the wellness violation. Are they then going to do the exact same thing with Dean Ambrose that they did with Roman? Are they going to publicly shame him on television? So I don't know. Like, you know, it's the same thing. Anytime a superstar passes away, God forbid, WWE does a tribute. But some people get longer tributes. Some people get this shorter, just like, you know, on the website, we heard that such and such passed away. So I feel like it has to be kind of consistent now. So if somebody else gets popped for a wellness violation, I feel like that WWE has kind of shot themselves in the foot now that they have to say the same thing that they did with Roman Reigns.
And that's the thing, too, is that it wasn't just he was the top star and then he got caught. Like, he was the WWE champion. You know what I mean? Like, he literally just lost the belt the night before. So it's not like, oh, he was the top star and this happened, yada, yada, yada. He was the face of the company. He had the most prestigious title in all the wrestling land, and then this happened. So, you know, I don't know. If I was Vince McMahon, I'd probably double think about, you know, picking him as this number one golden child, I guess you can call it. But it's going to be interesting when he does come back and how they bring him back and what they do with him. I'm sure they're still going to push him to the moon and back, but it'll just be interesting to see how they do it, because I'm sure they'll probably be a little bit more cautious and not so gung-ho about throwing him right into the fire, if you will. So.
Yeah, and there's also some interesting news that happened. You know, July 9th, Brock Lesnar, UFC 200, is going to be fighting. This was a very strange cross-promotion that WWE and UFC did, but now we found out that Brock Lesnar is going to be the cover athlete for the WWE 2K16, or 2K17 rather, this year. So what do you think about that? Do you think that he deserves the cover? Do you think that they should have picked somebody else? Do you care at all? What are your thoughts on this?
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. You know, Brock to me is that new phenom, man. He is the one that beat, you know, put the 1 and 21 and 1 and all that stuff. And he has to remain a beast. And I think this definitely keeps him afloat in the minds of all the gaming marks out there and all that. So I like it. I think he deserves it. He's done a lot since he's returned the past few years, so I think he deserves it. I think, on the other hand, though, too, I think a lot of people would argue for guys like maybe Seth Rollins to be on it, even though he was out for most of the year, but he still had one hell of a run as champion at that time. So, you know, is one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't. But I'm happy. I don't mind it one bit.
Yeah, I'm super excited about Brock Lesnar being on the 2K17 cover. I am a huge video game player, and last year's I really enjoyed. With this year, we get Goldberg also if you pre-order now, and I think Halloween Havoc as an arena as well. But I'm looking forward. We saw Rob Schamberger the other day. He was painting, so I know Ultimate Warrior, John Cena, and Sasha Banks are also playable characters so far. That's going to be pretty awesome. But I think that Brock Lesnar is, you know, like you were saying, Steve, I think he's a marquee talent, and I don't care what happens to this. At this UFC fight, I think Brock Lesnar deserves to be on the cover. And, you know, would we all like somebody else on the cover? Yeah, sure. I think that I want the Ravishing Rick Rude edition, but that's not going to happen. So to have Brock Lesnar on there, I'm super pumped for it, and I'm looking forward to the game.
Now, is there an option for me to have a match in UFC, then come back to my match in WWE at any point in the game, or is that like a story mode or anything, or no, not yet?
I don't know what they're gonna do. If there may be a lot of, like, see, that's what's crazy about these games, because I try to be as, and some of the gamers out there may know what I'm talking about too, but on WWE 2K16 or whatever, say you want to do a Royal Rumble, where the first thing you want to do is make sure that everybody who's in that Rumble match is somebody who's still with the company. Like if you're playing 2K16 now, there's a lot of people that have been departed since the game came out, so it's difficult for them. And they start probably right after the one comes out. They start on the next one, and maybe they were putting some of these people in the game that aren't with the company today. So I'm looking forward to this. I think that it's hopefully, again, going to be one of the larger rosters with Goldberg there. I think they can do a lot of stuff with either his career in WWE or his past in WCW. So I'm looking forward to a lot of unique downloadable content and stuff like that.
Today's show is brought to you by... Have you ever dreamed of being a professional wrestler? Then the Platinum Fitness Professional Wrestling School is the school you want. Located in Danbury, Connecticut, and led by Randy Sean Lockwood, a pro wrestler with over 15 years experience. Randy brings his passion for wrestling, as well as his vast knowledge to the school, with many guest trainers to enhance your knowledge, skill, and performance. If you're looking to make your dreams a reality inside the squared circle, then the Platinum Fitness Professional Wrestling School is your best choice. Call 203-628-7757 or visit PlatinumFitnessCT.com for more information.
This is your Olympic hero, Kurt Angle, and you're listening to another wrestling podcast in association with Celeb VM. Order a personal video message from me and many other wrestlers and celebrities now. Oh, it's true. It's damn true.
That's right. Head on over to celebvm.com/AWP.
Get a personal video message for yourself or as a gift for someone else. For personal connections, shoutouts, birthdays, proposals, weddings, and much more. Enter your details about yourself so the celebrity can record a personal video message, especially for you, including details such as your name, age, birthday, hobbies, or whatever else you include. As soon as the video has been recorded, you'll get an email with your link so you can share it on social media or download and keep it. Celebrities record videos as and when they can, usually within 2 weeks. But if you want a video for a specific date and it does not look like it will arrive in time, you can cancel it and get an instant refund at the click of a button. There are hundreds of celebrities to choose from and many more joining every day. Search by category or genre. Buy a gift voucher, get updates and offers, and encourage your favorite celebrities to join so they can connect with fans in a fun and unique way. Raise money for their charities and much more. So order your video now for yourself or for someone else.
Celebrity video messages and another wrestling podcast team up. Be sure to head on over to celebvm.com/AWP. Now, are you excited to hop on the party bus?
I am the Exotic Express is what you're talking about, and yes, fun fact, I actually found the Exotic Express. Me and a friend went to a couple shows, and it was there. So actually, we saw it too in Albany, right?
That we did. We were there for his debut.
We saw the Exotic Express live and in living color. So it's going to be awesome to talk to the artist formerly known as Adam Rose. And Steve, without further ado,
don't be a lemon. All right, joining us tonight is one of the most charismatic wrestlers in recent memory, whether he was hunting in the jungles of South Africa or reminding us that it's party time all the time. He was wrestling all over the world, entertaining us. Please don't be a lemon, and welcome the one and only Aldo Rose. Aldo, man, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. How are you doing?
Doing great.
Now, Aldo, we've got a lot to talk about, so let's just kind of get right into it. Now, you're originally from South Africa. How did you find the world of professional wrestling in South Africa, and how did you kind of make that transition into a career?
Oh, I mean, I started wrestling, I think when I was must have been about 15, turning 16. in South Africa, and obviously it's very different on that side than it is in the States. But I did it there for a long time. In fact, I was semi-retired before I actually even tried out for the WWE, and was doing commentary for a program on that side, and ended up doing a tryout that Justin Gabriel told me about. He had already been signed, I think, for about a year at the time, and then came out for that, and tried out with 50 other guys, and was signed about 3 months later. So, and the rest is history, as they say.
How different is wrestling in South Africa compared to maybe the United States?
Oh, it's completely different, completely two different animals. I mean, the wrestling in South Africa, the style is very different, and so a nice way to put it, I guess. I think at the time people didn't really know what they were doing in South Africa. We would learn from the Americans that would come in and would pick up certain things as guys would come in and out of the country, but the South African style was completely different. And then coming to the States, it was actually the first time I properly learned all the aspects of it. And I was learning from Dr. Tom and Steve Kern and Norman Smiley and all those guys. So, I mean, that was the first time I actually, all the pieces started to get put together for me. I actually used to watch tape and slow-mo the tape, and that's how I'd figure out what was going on. Training was pretty much, you have the ring, take a bump, the rest is your problem. In South Africa. It's a totally different animal.
Now, when you came to the U.S., you got into Florida Championship Wrestling, and you became Leo Kruger. Now, that's a very different Leo Kruger than we would see later in your career. So what was the kind of goal for your character when you first arrived in Florida Championship Wrestling, or were they just trying to get you off the ground?
Well, that's the thing. I think when you first come in, it's just a matter of, especially if you're coming in as, I was a foreigner, you pretty much had to be taught a lot of the stuff. I think if you're coming in and you're established, it's different. But if you're coming in with my background, it's pretty much just getting the basics down. And Dr. Tom was always one of those guys where it's either you swim or you sink, And so he was very quick to get you going, and then would make a judgment from there as to where to put you. But Leo Kruger initially probably had very little character or persona. It's only once you start getting under the radar that they started to mold it, and I started to mold it, and I had a lot more say in it when we were still in FCW and stuff like that. Once it went to NXT, you had a lot less say in what the character was.
Sure. Now, who would you say helped you out the most while you were down in FCW?
Dr. Tom, Norman Smiley. I have to say Norman Smiley. I mean, Norman Smiley was just one of the best human beings, I think, just in general, that I've ever met. Just such a good human being. And he is probably someone that I don't know a single soul that does not like Norman Smiley. So he's a great person, and you learned a lot from Dr. Tom. I enjoyed my years in FCW. I think they were some of my favorite years. Now that I look back, probably some of my favorite years.
Well, I was just going to say, that was a more than impressive run in FCW. You were two-time FCW heavyweight champion, and then you debuted in the kind of rebranded NXT. You continued as Leo Kruger at that point, but this is where I was getting into the kind of your character changed a little bit. What was the driving force behind that? Who kind of helped decide that it should be more of a hunter mercenary character?
Well, I think initially when we did the very first one, I was pretty much still doing the King of Africa stuff. And I just think some people didn't understand that. And I mean, they were saying, well, he can't be the King of Africa. So what is he? Is he a representative from the, so they didn't really get it. So then I actually went and created a character, actually shot a little tape of the Leo Kruger character myself and gave it to Dusty Rhodes. And this was, once again, to show differences and to show range, and did the accent and everything else. And it was actually based on South African militia and mercenaries that one of my uncles was actually in. And it was based on that specific person. And I took a lot of things from him and recreated that character from that.
Sure. Now, why do you think NXT or WWE officials decided to pull the plug on Kruger?
Many reasons. I don't think there was ever a full connection with the audience and the character anyway. But and I think one of the major disconnects was the fact that if Leo Kruger was 6'6" and 310 pounds, he would have connected more, I think at 6'1" and 210, it wasn't going to. And then the fact that I think Bray Wyatt had just debuted, so anything creepy was not going to get launched. Anything that would be in competition with that was not going to go anywhere from that point. So then they said, you're back to the drawing board. You got literally, I think I was told you got 2 weeks. Figure something out of you.
Wow. That's no pressure or anything, right?
Oh, super pressure. Absolute unreal pressure.
Now, what were your thoughts on, at that time, it was kind of, NXT was still like the wrestling's best kept secret. So what were your thoughts about the rabid NXT audience then? Were you happy with the, people's reaction to the stuff you would do?
Totally different audiences. I think that's what we all figured out. I mean, it's just totally different audiences. At the time it was anyway. I think now, even the fact that NXT is as, it's got so much viewership now, I think that's changed. But back then, NXT was still, only certain people saw it. Only really hardcore wrestling fans were watching it. And so the audiences that you go to WWE have a lot of general fans in it. And it was just all like... it was just different audiences, and I think they had a totally different reaction to it. I think if Adam Rose had debuted as a heel, we would have had a different response. We would have had a response we wanted. I think you can't have a character that's that quirky and that different and that ridiculous in some ways and expect the crowd to, make him a babyface.
Yeah.
Now, what were your initial thoughts, too, on, you just mentioned, too, Adam Rose, after being off NXT for a while, you re-debuted as Adam Rose. Now, what were your thoughts on this character change, and how much input did you have with your character?
What do you mean, in NXT or in WWE?
Yeah, in NXT.
NXT, I had a lot to do with it, and I think me and Dusty had pretty much the same vision on where to take it. But I wasn't in NXT very long, and I think everyone knows it was pretty much rushed up to the main roster. And I mean, I think at the time it was done because I was also wanting to rush up to the main roster. I've been in developmental for so long, and I wasn't getting any younger. I wanted to get something going, and I think they did too. And I was told from the beginning that it was a mid-card push, and I was told from the beginning that it wasn't going to be, one of these big main event pushes. It just wasn't. And I was okay with that at the time because I'd been in developmental for so long. That was the goal. I was trained to continually be trying to get to the main roster. That's how you train. Your mindset is, I've got to get there, I've got to get there, I've got to get there. I don't know if it's the same mindset anymore in NXT, considering that NXT has grown and is now basically a product that could stand on its own 2 feet. I don't know if the mindset still is as much driven to get out.
Okay. Now, we were hearing rumblings of this before you debuted in NXT as Adam Rose, about how that you were being repackaged and there was this whole character change and that you were supposed to be similar to Russell Brand.
Yes.
Were you being told that too, or was that just something that...
No.
Okay, so you were being... Okay, so it was...
When I created the character, I based a lot of it on Russell Brand, and I borrowed from certain peoples, and I think I based a lot of it on Russell Brand, but it needed to be edgy, and it needed to have that nightclub-like type vibe and feel to it, and I think we got that right on NXT. I think once we got to the main roster, somewhere along the line, we became Sesame Street, and I think that was pretty much the beginning of the end, I mean, I know, I remember coming out and looking back and seeing the hot dog and thinking, okay, this isn't really what we had in mind. And it's just, that's how things happen. And it's not intentional. It's not like anyone's trying to damage anything. It's just, you become an interpretation or someone's interpretation of your specific character, which isn't necessarily what it was ideally in the beginning.
Sure. Were you given any ideas on how popular you were becoming as far as, anywhere from t-shirt sales to social media, etc.? Did they tell you about that as far as how much the character's getting over?
I mean, that's the one thing I could say. They're extremely honest. It's not like they're not honest about what's going on. I could tell by crowd reactions and right out the bat that, okay, I need to turn heel, almost instantaneously. I feel like a lot of the time we wait too long to capitalize on specific things. Something will reach its peak and we'll wait beyond it before we try to capitalize upon it, and then we lose momentum that way. And it's just, it's like with the bunny reveal. If we ever did that we had already taken too long, because by the time I actually attacked the bunny, the crowd was actually cheering me for it. So it was, it's amazing how quickly that curve is. And if you don't catch it perfectly on the curve, then it's not going to work out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'll say that one of the things that irked me the most about your debut, I was actually at your debut on Raw in Albany, New York, and I was really upset that they switched your theme song from the original one in NXT, The World Goes Wild. I think that the one you had was good, but the original one was great. Did they just not want to pay for the rights, or what happened with that?
I'm not exactly sure. It might have been a copyright issue. I'm not exactly sure. I know that I think a lot of the time WWE just likes to produce their own stuff. You know, I don't think they want to take on other people's stuff. I think it was at the beginning of NXT characters starting to get their own stuff done for them, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It could have been a copyright issue. I'm not sure. But I was told, and the first song did definitely have much more of the exact, I think the song correlated with the character better than the second song did.
Sure. Now, Adam, if you could go back and change anything about your debut on the main roster, maybe how it was handled or anything like that, is there anything on your mind that you'd love to just change and go back in time?
On the main roster?
Mm-hmm.
Probably, if I had the opportunity to redo everything again, probably debut as a heel. I think if I could control that and go back in time, I think one of the things I would have done is debuted as a heel, and then possibly try to keep that edgy nightclub vibe to it, rather than us becoming Sesame Street with the hot dogs and things like that. I don't know how it went that far out with that, but it's like in NXT, the character had like a certain vibe to it, and it was cool, and it was different, and it was edgy, and I think people could buy in. And then once you're seeing a hot dog, and I don't know what else was out there. There was a sausage and all sorts of different stuff, and it's I think from that point on, it's not gonna have the same feel, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Now we have a fan question. Somebody submitted this, and Tony Nagel asked, do you think that Leo Kruger would have done better than Adam Rose if he was brought up to the main roster?
I do. I do think that Leo Kruger would have done better. I think that I wish that Leo Kruger had been exposed to that audience, if you understand, because I feel then we could go back to pursuing that. But I think the fact that Leo Kruger was never, ever exposed to that audience, and only like really diehard wrestling fans ever saw that, you know, I don't think he's worth, exploring again. I think maybe down the line, but I personally thought there was nothing wrong with Kruger. I thought it was a fantastic character. I do wish that I was 6'6" and 310. I think that would have made them move that character up. But I do think that the fact that I was smaller, that character, there was a disconnect with the audience, you know?
Sure. Another fan question. This time it's about the Rosebuds. Vinny Martone asks, other than Road Dogg, who are some other wrestlers who appeared as Rosebuds that maybe we might not have known?
Rosebuds? I'm trying to think. I mean, the original crew out of NXT had Simon Gotch in it, and Braun Strowman, believe it or not. And who else? I'm trying to think. Of the original crew, I mean, pretty much the NXT roster that wasn't being used at the time was put in it. And then on the road, it was, just about a lot of the guys you've seen before. I mean, on the indie scene, top guys from the indie scene, some top guys from the indie scene. I apologize for that. But anyway, it was fun. I mean, I think it was like a fun experience to do. I mean, the energy level was high, and we had fun with it. It's just... I think the character was too quirky and too different to try and push on an audience and say, like this guy. I think it's better letting characters like that evolve with the crowd, where the crowd initially is going to be put off by something like that. Over time, they will fall in love with certain parts of such a quirky character. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly, yeah. Now, you spoke a little bit about the bunny. Obviously, that was, like you said, maybe it was a little too late, but... were you given some sort of goal for what was supposed to happen with that storyline, or were you just kind of told to go out there and fight with this bunny?
Well, I mean, we weren't sure where that story was going for a long time, and I don't think anyone knew really where to take it, because They didn't feel like you wanted to put a major star in it because it was Adam Rose, and I wasn't high enough in the card to do that. They didn't want to put just a nobody in it because then we wouldn't get a reaction. So it was sort of like one of those, where do we go with this things? And there was a bunch of names thrown around. But I think at the end, the easiest thing to do at the time, because they did not know how to pay it off, and I think it became frustrating enough that we just sort of wrote it off. And which to me was a tragedy, because I thought that was the one part where even that ridiculousness got some momentum, you know? And that could have been a nice debut for somebody, or it could have been anybody that I wanted it to be somebody who was out of the business for a long time. It was, you know, would have looked realistic, would have been looking for some sort of work, you know? And we could have used that as a story. That's what I wanted it to be, but at the end of the day, they let it just disappear. And I think at the time it was the safest thing to do. And I understand that.
Now, just kind of a follow-up to that, you've mentioned it a couple times where they told you right away that you're going to be a mid-card guy, and you just mentioned how they weren't going to put a lot of stuff behind it because it was Adam Rose. Does that not seem to you like it ends up being a self-fulfilling prophecy? If they tell you that you're only going to... do you think that maybe not you, and I'm not asking you to name names or anything, but don't you think that after a while of superstars and women's wrestlers hearing that, that they may just not want to try any harder if they're constantly being told that they're going to stay at a certain level?
I think that would apply to anybody else but WWE wrestlers. And the reason I say that is because we are such a unique breed of performer. We're continually looking to make something work. I think that's how we trained. I mean, I was always trained by William Regal and all of them, that even if you're given something and they say, all right, this is mid-card and this isn't going to do this, you do the best you can with it.
Yes.
And you do the best with whatever you're given, to your abilities. Certain handcuffs are on and certain restraints are on, but you're doing the best you can with whatever you're dealt. And I think every superstar has that opinion. Even if they're given something ridiculous, they'll do it to the best of their ability. And that's something that you have to respect in our craft, because not all people do that.
Sure. Now, it seems that WWE was constantly changing your direction while you were there. Prior to you becoming a part of the Social Outcasts, it seems that you were going to be doing something else with the Rosebush. Is there anything you can tell us about what was supposed to happen there?
I'm not sure exactly what the idea with the Rosebush was. I know that the first one was great, and then it sort of didn't get any legs from there. But once again, it's like we're in this tough position where we can go for superstars, like we can go hard on them, like we did in the first one, or we can go Sesame Street on them and get no reaction. And we don't want to go too hard on the superstars because we would damage them. And so it was like this weird spot of we're trying to dish the dirt without hurting them. And then I think there was too many restraints in what we could say and what we couldn't say. And I think the first one we were given free reign, and the second one you were sort of like, you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that, you're not allowed to say this, you're not allowed to say that. And then that would hinder the show having any sort of momentum. But I mean, I don't know if there was any end game with that. A lot of it I think was just, well, he could do that. Oh, well, he could try this. And it was me too. I was trying things out. Like the entire party poop idea was mine. And I loved doing that stuff because I could come out and tell the audience to leave the building. It was insane, and it was a lot of fun. And it was like, why not try the complete opposite of the character? Let's go to completely the parallel, complete opposite of what that character would have been. Mm-hmm. And everything there is just, when you're like mid-card and you're at that level, you're just trying to make the best of whatever you're given. And if you're not given something, you're trying to give them something. And that's pretty much how you make a career, is just continually reviving or reinventing yourself at that level, I think. Other top stars don't go through that, but I think at that level, you're continually trying to reinvent yourself.
Okay. Now, shortly after all the Adam Rose, what we were just speaking about there, you became part of the Social Outcast. It was you, Heath Slater, Bo Dallas, and Curtis Axel, all great talents in my opinion. Were you happy to get paired with them, and how exactly was this formed too? Was this kind of just thrown together by you guys, or thrown together from WWE?
Oh, that was completely the WWE's idea. We were told, I think, 5:00 on a Monday that we were going to be a group. And I think the idea is that we were a group. I mean, we were like the island of misfit toys. I mean, there's a bunch of guys that were just not, I don't think we had much TV time happening between any of us. And so at that point, I think it was, well, let's put them together collectively and see what they do. And we didn't know really what to do with it. And I think that's what created, I think, in some ways, some of the magic chemistry between the characters was the fact that we didn't really know what to do with each other and get along. And the fact that we were always like stepping on each other's toes and trying to get more camera time than the other guys. I still believe that group had possibilities. I think it was just a matter of where they were directed.
Sure. Now, wrestling fans were also saddened to hear that you requested your release from WWE. However, it seems that you are now busier than ever, especially this weekend with ESS Promotions. You'll be at East Coast Pro Wrestling on Friday, New York Wrestling Connection on Saturday, also the Wrestling Universe as well this weekend, and also UWA Elite on July 9th. For more information, people can head on over to ESSpromotions.com. What are you most looking forward to on the indie scene right now with a lot of these wrestlers coming up? And is there anybody out there that you're excited to meet, to match up with?
I think, for me, this is really exciting because this is a part of professional wrestling I never got to be involved in. Coming from South Africa, I only got involved in that scene, really, in the African scene. I never got to experience the American indies. And for me, that's exciting. And then also, I think I have a point to make and some things to prove with regards to, okay, this is what the WWE put me at, but I want to prove that I'm better than that, and I want to prove that in ring specifically I'm better than that. And then got some people that know me know that, people that are, but it's like I want to be able to prove to myself, I guess, and to the rest of the world that Aldo Rose is better than that, and you will see that. And I think Joey Ryan is somebody I have to face at some point if anyone's man enough to book it. But because I think that will be absolutely insane. But yes, I actually just want to prove myself to myself and prove myself to wrestling fans that pay good money to see shows. I want to say to them, look, I'm worth every cent. That's sort of what I want to prove.
Definitely.
Well, now you obviously mentioned some of the places or some of the people that you'd like to wrestle, but we have a fan question. Louis Gennaro asks, do you have any plans to visit Ring of Honor, TNA, or Lucha Underground in the future?
Well, I mean, I can't talk about that and stuff like that yet, but
okay.
Obviously I have goals, and I want to experience every aspect of this business, and I mean, obviously, I'm already in talks with regards to where my future goes, but I think I just want to experience everything that can possibly be experienced. Like, I've got the European tour coming up in October, and I'm going to be there almost for a month, and so that's like, it's something, experiencing that side of things, and like Aldo Rose was very much received well in the United Kingdom, so it'll be cool to go there and be with those fans who always seem to get it if what I was trying to present.
Definitely. Now, you were the artist formerly known as Adam Rose, now currently going by Aldo Rose. Is there any significance to this name change, and were there any other names being thrown around?
Oh, yeah, I had a couple. I just like the name Aldo. I think it's got a good sound to it. And funnily enough, I like the name Aldo. I think the two-syllable name is always a good thing. It's really simple how you come up with this stuff. And I also think it's very close to Aldis, so I think that's good too. But I like the name August for some reason. And then someone said to me, no, that's a horrible idea. And I was like, okay, no, that is a horrible idea. So I think we went with Aldo. But the character's not going to be 100% the same because the restraint's off. And it doesn't have to be Sesame Street anymore. And it's going to have that edge that I always wanted to it. And I think audiences should look forward to that, seeing Aldo Rose the way I wanted him packaged.
Lightning round.
Favorite match of your wrestling career so far?
Justin Gabriel was on a live event.
All right. Who sang the better song about a rose? Was it Poison, Every Rose Has Its Thorn, or Seal, Kissed by a Rose?
Poison.
All right. Now, this is a pretty tough question here, but who would win in a fight, Aldo Rose or Muscles Marinara?
I think muscles, because they're completely crazy.
What are your thoughts on Axl Rose?
I love the band.
Okay. Name one thing you miss about South Africa.
Durban Beach.
Right. Hobbies outside of wrestling.
I have 2 rambunctious children. I have no hobbies. I have no time to do anything else. Yeah. Sorry.
No, that's totally acceptable.
Okay.
Now that you've, for at least for the time being, shut your door on your WWE career, when you look back and consider everything you did there, what is your favorite moment in the WWE? What's your greatest accomplishment you think personally?
It would have to be the first time Adam Rose was in front of the United Kingdom audience. I mean, England. I think that was probably the best, and it was like early on, but that was like the best we saw, I think, of Adam. And then I think it sort of dwindled from there. So the high point would probably be that.
Well, once again, I want to remind everybody, too, this weekend, this Friday night, Saturday, East Coast Pro Wrestling, New York Wrestling Connection, the Wrestling Universe, and UWA Elite. Head on over to ESSpromotions.com for more information. Aldo, in the world of social media, where can people keep up with you these days? And I also hear there's a Pro Wrestling Tees site for you, too, for some shirts.
Yeah, just go look for Aldo Rose, and we've got a bunch of shirts, about 5 shirts on there. They are really cool. I got to give a shout out to Migs Media One, who was the artist on them, and then it's @Aegis_Rose, where you will find me on Twitter. And I just, to all the audiences out there, all wrestling fans out there, I am going to prove once and for all that I am worth every freaking cent.
Well, we want to thank you so much for coming on today, and we look forward to seeing everything that you do, and we look forward to actually having you back on at some point too.
Thank you. I've had a lot of fun. I would love to come back.
All right, once again, thanks to Aldo Rose, formerly known as Adam Rose. Can't wait to see what he has in store for us this weekend with ESS Promotions. Once again, for all the visits on the Exotic Express stop this weekend, head on over to ESSpromotions.com. You'll find out more information about what times, places, and all that fun stuff this weekend with ESS Promotions. So if you want to meet Adam, you want to meet Aldo, you want to meet any part of him, come on out this weekend and find him on ESS Promotions. So stay tuned to that.
Be sure to give us a call and talk to us. We have our very own hotline. It is 802-297-7672. Once again, if you can't remember that, it is 802-AWP-7672. You can call us, talk to us about anything, and we'll play the best calls on the air.
This is Matt Rasnick calling from Parts Unknown. You want to talk about the 5-year anniversary of Punk's Pipe Bomb. It seems like every 10 or 15 years or so, something significant happens in wrestling that intrigues me to the point where I absolutely have to watch so I can see what happens next. Roddy Piper hitting Captain Lou Albano over the head with the gold record, disrupting the muscular dystrophy charity presentation. That made the legit news and set up the first WrestleMania. And that brought me in initially, and then I watched, and I never stopped watching, but my interest kind of waned until the 90s when Hulk Hogan was revealed to be the third man in the NWO. And then I was like, I gotta see what happens now. And so then that went on, and I never stopped watching, but my interest fell off to a certain degree until Punk's Pipe Bomb promo. And after that, I was all in on pro wrestling again. And I don't think I missed an episode for 2 years after that night. And honestly, like, people can say what they want, but it will be years before something like CM Punk comes along again. Until then, I wait.
We just passed a milestone this weekend. It's been a 5-year anniversary this Monday.
That not for the podcast.
No, not for the podcast. For the pipe bomb, Jonathan. It's been 5 years, man. It doesn't seem like that. That's crazy.
Time flies when you're not fighting in the UFC. Shut up, bump.
5 years, man. I can't believe it. I feel like it's been at least 2, but 5, that's crazy. Half a decade later, Jonathan, CM Punk's pipe bomb. Let's go back. Let's go back to the beginning. Maybe we have to refresh everybody and play a little bit. Let's play some of the stuff that CM Punk said during that infamous night.
John Cena, while you lay there, hopefully as uncomfortable as you possibly can be, I want you to listen to me. I want you to digest this, because before I leave in 3 weeks with your WWE Championship, I have a lot of things I want to get off my chest. I don't hate you, John. I don't even dislike you. I do like you. I like you a hell of a lot more than I like most people in the back. I hate this idea that you're the best. Because you're not. I'm the best. I'm the best in the world. There's one thing you're better at than I am, and that's kissing Vince McMahon's ass. You're as good as kissing Vince's ass as Hulk Hogan was. I don't know if you're as good as Dwayne, though. He's a pretty good ass kisser. Always was and still is. Oops, I'm breaking the fourth wall. I am the best wrestler in the world. I've been the best ever since day one when I walked into this company, and I've been vilified and hated since that day because Paul Heyman saw something in me that nobody else wanted to admit. That's right, I'm a Paul Heyman guy. You know who else was a Paul Heyman guy? Brock Lesnar. And he's split, just like I'm splitting, but the biggest difference between me and Brock is I'm going to leave with the WWE Championship. I've grabbed so many of Vincent K. McMahon's imaginary brass rings that it's finally dawned on me that they're just that. They're completely imaginary. The only thing that's real is me, and the fact that day in and day out, for almost 6 years, I have proved to everybody in the world that I am the best on this microphone, in that ring, even at commentary. Nobody can touch me. And yet, no matter how many times I prove it, I'm not on your lovely little collector cups. I'm not on the cover of the program. I'm barely promoted. I don't get to be in movies. I'm certainly not on any crappy show on the USA Network. I'm not on the poster of WrestleMania. I'm not in the signature that's produced at the start of the show. I'm not on Conan O'Brien. I'm not on Jimmy Fallon. But the fact of the matter is I should be. And trust me, this isn't sour grapes. But the fact that Dwayne is in the main event of WrestleMania next year and I'm not makes me sick. Oh, and hey, let me get something straight. Those of you who are cheering me right now, you are just the biggest part of me leaving as anything else. Because you're the ones that are sipping out of those collector cups right now. You're the ones that buy those programs that my face isn't on the cover of. And then at 5 in the morning at the airport, you try to shove it in my face so you can get an autograph and try to sell it on eBay because you're too lazy to go get a real job. I'm leaving with the WWE Championship on July 17th, and hell, who knows, maybe I'll go defend it in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Maybe I'll go back to Ring of Honor. Hey, Colt Cabana, how you doing? The reason I'm leaving is you people, because after I'm gone, you're still gonna pour money into this company. I'm just a spoke on the wheel. The wheel's gonna keep turning, and I understand that. But Vince McMahon's gonna make money to spite himself. He's a millionaire who should be a billionaire. You know why he's not a billionaire? It's because he surrounds himself with glad-handing, nonsensical yes men like John Laurinaitis, who's going to tell him everything that he wants to hear. And I'd like to think that maybe this company will be better after Vince McMahon's dead. But the fact is, it's going to get taken over by his idiotic daughter and his doofus son-in-law and the rest of his stupid family.
Obviously, this is easily the probably most listened to and maybe most influential promo in wrestling for our time. I mean, there was the Austin 316, and it gets thrown around a lot in the same circles as that. You know, the Austin 316 promo, the CM Punk pipe bomb. It had an equal effect, I would believe, on both of their careers. After this, CM Punk kind of went to the moon as far as what happened then. He won the WWE Championship. He was champion for nearly 434 days. It was crazy, but I think we should break down this promo and see kind of what happened after he had this amazing pipe bomb. What's changed, and was this pipe bomb good for the WWE? So, what do you remember most about this pipe bomb? Take yourself back 5 years. You're sitting on the couch, maybe watching Raw. What can you drum up about this promo?
I think in everybody's mind, and in my mind, when it started, it was just another promo. I wasn't expecting anything crazy. And then when he breaks that wall, and just you know what I mean, to where when he broke it, looked at the camera, and just started saying stuff about McMahon, about Cena, and it was just like, this ain't scripted. It was like, for any kid watching out there, they probably were confused, but as an older fan, as an older mark or whatever, we knew it was going down. This is like, wow. This hasn't happened in like years. Like everybody's, we've seen the countless times where people have asked for their line, or they'll forget what their line is or whatever. From the scripted things they were used to, they gave Punk a live mic and he just literally talked about whatever he wanted. Some people can say, oh, it was scripted or it was planned that way. I don't think that was planned at all. That just some of the stuff was great. That's what pro wrestling has been lacking. Some of these guys are too worried about remembering their lines to where somebody can go out there and just spew that stuff on people, just dropping knowledge, dropping stuff like that, facts, if you will. It was great, man, that's what made it exciting, and that's what made his run exciting too after that, because you just didn't know what was real, what wasn't, what was going to happen. It was crazy. It was a crazy time, but more importantly, just that speech was crazy to where, like I said, he broke that fourth wall from talking to Colt Cabana, talking about McMahon, talking about Cena being a kiss ass or whatever. So it was crazy, man, because it was just one of those things where you just had it on. It was at the end of Raw. It was like, whatever, I'm going to go to bed soon, just see what he has to say. And then he explodes like that, into where, that doesn't happen at all, ever, rarely. It's crazy. It's one of those once-in-a-lifetime things, but I think that's what's lacking in wrestling, is that they need more real pipe bombs like this. Now, granted, I know you can't just give anybody an open mic and just crap on everybody, but to a certain extent, I think a lot of these wrestlers just need to do a promo like that, like from the hip, from the heart. I'm not saying to bury your owner or boss or whatever, but I think some of these things, like, they have to make sure these certain words aren't in it. They have to, check the script. They got to make sure they don't say this, don't say that. And I'm like, man, this is what wrestling needs. Like, it's half physical and half verbal. And, the verbal has been what's missing. And I think when he did that, the long story short is just that, it was incredible. It was great to hear somebody just go on and on about some of the things we probably knew about, but just saying it out loud. He made him an icon. It made him, the hero, if you will. So I think he was trying to get heat out of it, but at the end of the day, everybody loved him for it. It made fans even tune in more just after they heard word about what happened. So there's so many emotions involved with it, Jonathan, that to get right there, I'll just keep going on and on about it. But, all in all, it was just the reality of what he was saying made wrestling even more real, and I think that is greatly needed in today's environment.
Well, I think there was another thing at play there too, which was awesome. And listening to it right away, we didn't really hear about it, but he in a way made fun of Triple H. He then made fun of John Cena. He then made fun of Dwayne Johnson. And if you look at that, that was planting the seeds that they could go back and he could have feuds with all those people. And he did. And they were all great. And I think that was a very old school way of doing things. They could go back to that promo and then, automatically they can pull from that and say like, well, John Cena's always had problems with CM Punk. We can go back to this date. Or Dwayne, why is Dwayne Johnson and CM Punk fighting? They don't have history. Well, yeah, they do. CM Punk called them out at this time. So I think it was done very well, whether it was, a complete shoot or if it was scripted shoot, whatever. I agree. I think that there needs to be more moments like that in wrestling. And you hear all these guys talk about it and they go back and they say like, they have their Austin 316 moment where they look at the camera and you just know that happened. And we've got such a great pool of talent right now, the likes that the WWE's never seen, where a lot of these people, like Daniel Bryan's whole Yeselmania run where he was going up, like that whole thing was basically one giant pipe bomb. Like he was just, at each stop was, bettering himself, doing something better and better and better. And I believe that is one of the things that CM Punk's pipe bomb actually did. It also, it ushered in change. There were certain things that I think that we don't see, like with maybe the talent, and things that we did see with some of the people, the new people coming in and making waves, Daniel Bryan's, the Seth Rollins, the Dean Ambroses, and even, like a lot of these indie guys, I don't know for sure that this CWC would be happening without the lasting effects of CM Punk's pipe bomb. So when people either give it credit or don't give it credit, I definitely think that there's some credit that is due to CM Punk for ushering in this change.
Yeah, definitely. And Jonathan, like I said, it's been 5 years since he did this, and a lot of things have happened since he said that. One of the big things is that Punk is no longer there. He left. And, with his leaving also helped change a lot of things to where, Daniel Bryan, would he have gotten that WrestleMania moment at WrestleMania 30? Would that have still been the same, whether he verbally, made change or physically made change by leaving the WWE, a lot of things have happened just because of CM Punk. So whether you love him or hate him, you got to thank him because there's definitely a lot of things that are happening because of a lot of his situation. So what else can we say that has changed, Jonathan, since he has left?
Well,
or since that infamous moment.
Yeah, if you break down the promo, he starts talking about how he's not on the cup, he's not on the signature, he's not on that sort of thing, and then he goes into talking about how Vince McMahon is a millionaire who should be a billionaire, but he surrounds himself with like yes men. One of the things with some of these recent releases is that Johnny Ace was released, he was still a talent, but I don't think he does the same role that he used to do. Brooklyn Brawler, like some of these people I think have been with the company for so long that they just never wanted to get rid of them. But now we've seen that they're starting to cut some of these people. So that's something that may have changed. Also, he talks about, he calls him his doofus son-in-law. He's talking about Triple H and his daughter taking over the company. Well, we started to see a lot of that after CM Punk left. Like there's, a lot of that's happening right now, the transition, I think. But we got Shane back. I don't know what kind of capacity he's going to be in. But the IWC, the often imitated, never duplicated IWC, Internet Wrestling Community, they had a lot to say about Triple H at the time. They always said he was burying people and he was terrible, this, that, and the other thing. Well, now he is looked upon as somewhat the savior because of what he created with NXT. So I don't know that worked out the exact way that CM Punk thought it was going to. I think that Triple H is pretty much a beloved character right now because everybody knows that he's doing so much to try to help get all this new talent. So I don't know about that. What do you think about some of the things that he said in the promo?
No, yeah, and it is interesting to where when he pretty much called the doofus son-in-law, and NXT wasn't, I don't think, as big as it was then that it is now, and to look at what that doofus son-in-law has done to a brand, given power when he's in charge of it. It's quite impressive, and I think ever since we have seen what Triple H can do with, let alone NXT, I think a lot of people have been hoping for him to gain the reins of Raw or SmackDown or just, the main card. But we know Vince isn't going to be letting go of that spot anytime soon. But, at one point you didn't think he'd be able to do anything like this, and then just with those little bit of words, maybe that even inspired Triple H to do better and prove him wrong. So who knows, maybe this whole NXT revolution could have been from Punk, to where maybe he just pissed off Triple H that much to where he's like, fine, you know what, we're gonna do it my way or something. I don't know, I'm sure I'm saying whatever, but could that have inspired Triple H to do what he did in NXT a little bit? Because it definitely wasn't like that 5 years ago.
Well, and some of the things that are crazy that I still think we have that hasn't really changed is he talked about how he grabbed so many of Vincent Kennedy McMahon's brass rings. So there's this whole thing in the company where everyone thinks that there are all these brass rings that, Vince McMahon sits out there like, you got to be better at promos, you got to do this, you got to do that. And these people feel like they grab them and then they still don't get anything from that. And one of the things that I'm reminded of is when Vince McMahon was on the Stone Cold podcast, where he talked about Cesaro and how Cesaro didn't quite have it yet because the guys aren't grabbing the brass rings, and the last person that really grabbed the brass ring was John Cena. And I kind of feel like that wasn't fair. I feel like that we see a lot of people that go out there and try their hardest, and people like Adam Rose, they kept giving him thing after thing after thing, and he kept trying it. Now, whether it's his fault or it's just not landing with the audience or whatever, but I still think that that's going on. So I don't think that that's happening. And I think, Vince McMahon runs a business, so he has to kind of make sure that people are constantly trying their hardest. And so that's one thing that I still think is going on, and I don't necessarily mind it happening because I think it makes the product better.
No, definitely. If you go back, though, I mean, everything that we played with him and said about him and this whole pipe bomb, there's been a lot of change from it. And, it's just, if this didn't happen, John, if this never happened, this pipe bomb never happened, and CM Punk maybe just rode off into the sunset and let his contract expire, what would have happened? It's one of those what ifs. Would anything have changed? Would we have gotten an NXT like we have today? Would Daniel Bryan have, got that spot at WrestleMania if Punk didn't leave after the Rumble? A lot of what ifs about his career, hey, it's, I guess there's more positives going towards his pipe bomb, and to show that there has been change from him doing that live on TV than not if he never did it. So it is quite interesting, and I'd love to hear what everybody else has to say on thoughts. And please, as you're listening to us yap for a while, head on over to Another Wrestling Podcast, go to our Facebook page, go to our Twitter, tweet us, Facebook us your comments. Let us know. And, you have that AWP hotline, once again, 802-297-7672, free of charge. Call anytime you want, day or night. Leave your thoughts. Give us a promo, anything you want. Give us your own pipe bomb, if you will, on anything, and we'll play the best ones each week. So, Jonathan, just giving that out there for everybody, because we could go on and on about this, but we want to hear from them as well. So let us know your thoughts about the pipe bomb. Any other last thoughts about this, Jonathan?
Yeah, I'm going to ask you a couple questions here. This week also, CM Punk was on a radio show and he was talking about how he feels, he's never at a loss for words. He feels that WWE treats their talent like indentured servants, that they pay them as little as possible and try to get as much as they can out of them. One, I think that that's pretty much everywhere. All of us that work probably feel that way, that we could be paid more, that we could do less. I know that I feel that way sometimes, and I'm sure you do as well. Do you think that CM Punk sees what's happening in the WWE and the changes that maybe he brought about, and that this is sort of just sour grapes, that he's a little bitter about this? Or do you think that he has a legitimate complaint about the way that the talent in WWE is treated?
I see a man who was really in love with this girl, and he did everything he can to be with her, and when he was finally with her, he just was hoping, hey, he could get to third base, he could really close the deal on it, and it just never came to fruition, and he got dumped, or he dumped that girl, and now it's just calling out anything negative he can, just because I guess he could be a little bit bitter about the whole situation. So if you use that little analogy of him dating or trying to get with this girl or whatever, WWE as that girl, I think it's more or less just one of those things like your ex is saying about you, to where they're just going to say anything or whatever just for good press, because right now I think he has a lot to worry about with his debut fight in September. If that doesn't get pushed back, it's going to be interesting. So, I think right now, I don't think he really even cares about talking about WWE. To him, it's in the past. Right now, he's trying to focus on UFC. So, it's more or less the ex-girlfriend analogy. It's somebody keeps bringing it up. He doesn't want to talk about it, and he's just going to say something negative about it. So, until he gets over this UFC girl, if you will, to where maybe he does great, maybe he gets knocked out and walks away, to where maybe he'll want to come back to that old girlfriend who gave him that opportunity and all that other stuff. But never say never. I think that's the best way I could put it, Jonathan, as an analogy, to where it's not that he's over her, it's not that he's over it, it's just that I think he's sick of talking about it. To where he's moved on, he's in a totally different realm right now, and I think he wants to focus in on that. And anybody that brings up that ex, he's just going to bring something up that's negative about it, so that nobody else cares about that ex. So if that kind of maybe puts a point to my whole a little analogy, if you will, I think that's the main reason why we're getting some sour grapes from him talking about WWE. So
okay, now lastly, my question to you is, do you think that there's anybody, now I'm thinking total package here, I'm thinking promo skills, I'm thinking in-ring workhorse, I'm thinking just a general appeal from fans. Is there anybody on the current roster that we could see possibly replace CM Punk, fill that void that we've been having for quite a while?
I think right off the bat to me is Kevin Owens. He doesn't have that cookie cutter look. He looks like a brawler. He looks like you don't want to mess with him in a bar fight. He's golden on the mic. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, he can do a promo any time of day, whether he's before the match, during the match, or after the match. He's golden. And I think, if they give him the chance to run with the championship, I think we could see a lot more out of Kevin Owens. So I think right now, if you put me on the spot, the top person, I would say the person that's kind of replacing CM Punk would be Kevin Owens.
All right. Well, I'm thinking, and it's not too much of a stretch for me, I don't think, as well, is to say that maybe Seth Rollins is the one that can fill in those boots. Obviously he's got the wrestling. I don't know if he's as good on the mic as CM Punk, but he's definitely like no slouch. He can definitely hold his own. And I see them kind of trying to put him in that situation whenever he came out on Monday and did the whole thing about Roman Reigns. So I definitely see Seth Rollins. He's got a similar look. He's got a similar build. And I think let it be said that they're both pretty similar as far as everything goes. So
possibly a better wrestler than CM Punk was.
My last and final question is, 5 years from now, are we still talking about the CM Punk pipe bomb, or is there another person that's going to step up sooner rather than later and drop something that we're all talking about?
I have a two-part answer for your question, for the two-part question, to where, I think within that 5 years, we will see a CM Punk return. I think it's going to be inevitable one day, to where he realizes he can't really do anything in UFC anymore. If he does a fight or two or whatnot, it depends on how victorious he is. Maybe he gets a good win on the first one, and then who knows? I don't know how long he's going to be doing it. He's definitely up there in age, But I would definitely think we're going to be talking about a CM Punk return within the 5 years, whether it be just for a little stint or whatnot. But I could definitely see him coming back. I think we've seen a lot worse come back than CM Punk, so I think there's room for CM Punk to return within 5 years. I would say that should be a decent amount of time. And then also, just trying to think at the top of my head of anybody and everybody that we have right now. Man, if I could think outside the box, I would think it would have to go towards an outsider from the WWE, to where it would be like an AJ Styles, like Austin Aries, Bobby Roode, somebody that came from TNA, somebody that, has a lot of sour grapes with another company, to where maybe they might just bury the other company. I don't know. It's hard for me to think about, but if I had to think of anything off the top of my head, it would have to be somebody like AJ Styles, somebody like Austin Aries, Bobby Roode, somebody who spent a good amount of time in other companies and finally come here, and then maybe they get like screwed over to where they finally lose it and just like do kind of like a shoot. But it's hard to say. But I don't know. Who'd you say? Does anybody come to your mind?
If I have to just once again, we're just shooting off the top of our head. I'm going to think it's going to end up being somebody possibly like Roman Reigns. And I know that sounds strange, but especially given what just happened to him and the treatment of him by the fans, they may just say, you know what, go out there and speak from the heart. Basically, it's similar to what happened to The Rock whenever he first came on the scene. They made him this clean-cut, good guy, Rocky Maivia. He comes out, got that sponge-looking thing on his head for hair, and he's just happy and smiling and everything. And then the fans just finally just die, Rocky, die, and that ended it. So I think that what you're going to get is maybe Roman Reigns comes out and basically just puts everybody on notice for what's happened to him in his career. I tried to do all the right things. This is what the fans did back to me. I tried to do all the right things. I get suspended. You guys put it all over the news, the television. So I'm not going to do the right things anymore. I'm going to just be me. And I think that that's something that we could see. And it could do wonders for his career. So maybe we see a Roman Reigns pipe bomb in the future. I don't know.
Yeah, and wrapping up or going back full circle to Roman Reigns and the whole suspension thing, Jonathan, they've done everything they could to get him over, whether it be the Slammy Superstar of the Year to the Royal Rumble winner to having a main event match at the WrestleMania, twice, 2 years in a row. To where the fans just still hate him. So now maybe this suspension is just to get him maybe this suspension is the heel turn to where maybe he really didn't do anything. Maybe they just screw it. Let's give him a wellness violation, get him suspended, and now let's make the fans hate him even or something. I don't know. Because I don't see the fans letting him live this down when he returns. So he's definitely going to have to drop a pipe bomb and cut something really good to get either us to really hate him, really like him, or just on board with Roman Reigns. So I guess, the evolution of this pipe bomb, 5 years and going, is still contributing maybe to the future of WWE.
Well, that's the show. We want to thank you all for listening today.
Every week we do this show free of charge for you, the fans.
And if you're wondering how to repay us, we have just the thing.
Subscribe to us on iTunes.
Hey, and while you're there, be sure to rate us and give us a good review.
If you're looking for more information about AWP, then head on over to anotherwrestlingpodcast.com.
We are all over social media, and you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and more.
If you are an AWP superfan, you can also show your support by going over to ProWrestlingTees.com/anotherwrestlingpodcast and buying one of our official AWP shirts.
We couldn't do this show without you, so tune in next week for
Another Wrestling Podcast.